Hi there, this is Denise again. I would like to go over the hash map because the hash map has to be my favorite map out of all of them. Although tree map might be just as fun considering it's sorted, but I have code for hash map, and so I wanted to go through that. Okay, let's try and make this fairly quick here. Okay, so here we are creating an empty map, an empty hash map right here called user city mapping. Okay. So here's a bunch of comments talking about exactly all the different attributes of hash map. But I'm not going to read all of those. You can do that in your own time. But here we're checking to see if hash map is empty by simply using isEmpty method. And then it is empty at this point because we just created it. And now we're going to use the put method to put John and New York. And so John would be, this is the key and this is the value. Okay. And so we're going to enter all of those in there. And then we're going to print out the elements of the hash map using, let's see, just print and then plus user city mapping. And that will just print it out. Not super pretty, but it just prints out all the elements in a couple of brackets, I think. Okay, so then we need to find the size of the hash map. And so how you do that is just .size method right there. And that's going to tell you how many elements are in there. Okay, and then so you can search for a certain key. And Steve is in there. There's Steve. I had put him in there earlier. So basically, they're moving Steve into username, and you're checking to see if this contains key method has username in it. This, which could have been just, you could have just used Steve if you wanted with a little quotes if you wanted, but and then he's going to be in there. So Steve is going to be assigned to the get, and then it's going to print out Steve lives in this particular city. They're going to put the city, the value that it got from Steve into city here, and that's how it's going to get that. Sorry, it keeps doing that. I shouldn't use this so much. Otherwise, it wouldn't find it. If you put a name in there, it wouldn't find it, and it would just say which name you were searching for. So if, say we used the name Lucy, it would have said city details not found for Lucy. Okay, so the next chunk of code here says check if the hash value exists in the hash map. So you can check it if there's a value, even if you don't know the key for it. So in this case, they're looking for New York, and I know I saw New York in there as the top one, so it's going to print out there's a user in the city who lives in New York. Okay. Modify the value of an, okay, so you can modify an existing key's value. So it's basically taking and it's putting username, which in this case it was Steve because it's still set to Steve in there. And it's saying, okay, now Steve, you're now in California. Okay. And so then it's going to print out Steve moved to a city. Something new city. User mapping. Username, would it say Steve again? And then the city would be California. So he's going to say he's moving to California. I'm not understanding that right this second. But to get the methods, to get a method, if you find, I mean, the get method returns a null if you specified a key that's not found in the hash map. So Lisa doesn't exist in there, and so it's just going to give you a null. So that's really pleasant instead of giving an exception error. Okay, so this is an advanced loop for the hash map. entry set method will give you a complete set of elements for the hash map. And so basically you're just spinning through these, it's getting the key for each one and putting a space and then the value and printing that out. In this case, we're trying to delete Sudeep from our hash map. And so that's just simply done with the remove, and they'll get rid of that. And then it's going to print out the hash map again, probably just showing you that he's gone. So then let's see, creating a hash map from employee class. Now this is really cool. If you go into, I've made this employee class with string name, age, and department, okay? And so that is going to be our employee class, and it's going to use that right here. It's going to use that to create, it's using the employee class, and it's taking in these parameters and making, and now we have a new employee 1, 2, and 3, Greg, Denise, and Emily with our associated stuff. It's going to make those objects, right? So now you take those objects and you put those into your table, your hash map. And so 1 is going to be the key, like the employee number, say, and then all the rest of the information, the employee, like Greg, 53, and logistics is going to come after that, okay? And it's pretty cool how this works. And then, so they'll add those all in, and then to traverse the hash map, once again, we use this entry set, and it gets this using the get key. It's putting it into key, and then it's getting the value and putting it into E. And it's going to print out the key and the word info, or so that is like the key is 1, or the key is 2, or the key is 3, and then info, and then it's going to print out the name, age, and department. Okay, so let's run this and let's look at all the varying output here. Okay, so is the city map empty? It was. And then remember how I told you it was going to print out in little brackety things, and it did after we had entered those in there. And so we have, the city has 6 users, 6 elements. That's how it was telling us. Remember, we used the size on that to get that. Steve lives in London. There is a user in user city mapping who lives in New York. Okay, so that was the one where we were looking for someone who, for a value, right? Instead of knowing the key, right? So Steve moved to City, California, new city, from the new city mapping. Oh, that's what it was. It was just printing out the entire, that's what it was. Printing out the, it was just giving all of the elements, right? So it's going to say he moved to California. Let me prove it. Where's Steve? Yeah, right here. Proved it that it was California. Okay. So then Lisa, we didn't, she, you know, she hasn't been in our table. So see how it said null, remember that? And then this was just a little thing to keep track of where we were at. And then this was just kind of spinning through our entire table and printing out the elements with that, with, let's see, where was it? It's printing. Just kind of printing them all out. It was just before this right here. Here it is, right here, I think. Right here. Printing out the key values is right here. So just printing them all out nicely. And it's good to have that because then if you needed to, you know how to spin through all of your elements. If you need to get them individually like that, you can't use something that just prints it out like this. You just can't in a big grouping like that, usually for like if you were going to really process them or work with them. So then this is user city mapping again. And then here is the best part. Here's this little thing right here. One info. Remember how I told you we basically put 3 objects from a different class into this hash map. And so that was kind of cool. It says 1 info, 1 was the key, 2 is another key, and 3 is another key. So this is this, and there's all of their information. So that was my exploration with HashMap. It was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it, and I hope this helps you in some way. Thank you so much.